Alright everyone, so today I wanted to talk about 15 rare champions that are better than the average epic champion. Now when it came to thinking of this list, there are two main things that I considered. Number one was, what can these champions do and bring to the table besides just raw damage? And number two was, when it comes to the roles that they do fill in a team, can they fill more than one? So for example, if a champion has a buff, do they have another buff to go alongside with it? Do they have a combination of buffs and debuffs, or maybe buffs, debuffs, and some sort of support or utility type skill? Because that's going to be one of the big things that differentiates not so great rare champions between really good epics, is not only do they fill a certain role, but in a lot of cases they actually have abilities that will be able to fill multiple roles at once. Now also, when it comes to lists like this, of course there's going to be really good champions that I left out, so if you guys don't see your favorite champion on the list, don't worry, there's always room for more videos like this in the future. Now with that being said, let's jump right to it. We've got a lot of champions to go over today, so we are going to go through really quickly. I'm mostly just going to say the name of the champion as well as the highlights of their really strong skills. And we're going to start off in the High Elves category, and we're going to start with one of the most well-known rare champions in the game, Apothecary. He's known for being one of the best rares in the game, primarily because of his third ability right here, Boon of Speed. Places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%. This ability alone, even if this was the only skill that he had, makes him absolutely phenomenal, super strong. But in addition, he also has a heal ability, and he has an auto attack that attacks 3 times. So for a rare champion, he's easily going to be one of the best in the game. Now we're going to go to the Sacred Order and talk about one of the starter rares, and that is going to be Ethel, or Ethel, depending on how you pronounce it. So if you do pick Ethel as your starter rare, you can easily take her up to 60 and 6-star her and not feel bad, because she has some very strong skills, including her first ability, her auto attack, which actually has the strong version of Weaken already attached to it. Now, the strong version of Weaken is a very good debuff to have in Raid Shadow Legends, and the fact that she has it on her auto attack on a rare champion is very strong. That, as well as having a solid area of effect ability right here, and a very good third skill that gives her some additional buffs as well as an extra turn. She has a strong skill kit and absolutely going to be a rare champion, better than many epics in Raid Shadow Legends. Now we're going to move on to the Dark Elves category, and again talk about one of the most well-known, talked about champions in the game, and that is going to be Coldheart. Now Coldheart is known as just one of the best damage dealers in the game. She is squishy, but in terms of the amount of raw damage that she does, it is absolutely insane. Now, I personally think her third ability is the best and most unique one, because it scales off of enemy max HP, which means that when you're fighting bosses or monsters that have a ton of HP, even if you don't have her geared super well, this ability is still going to scale and do more damage, because it's based off of the max HP of the enemies that you are facing. So you can get some crazy damage numbers. I'm talking many millions with abilities that scale off enemy max HP, and it just turns out that Coldheart, a rare, has one of these abilities. So even if you discount this, though, she has 2 other very strong skills: an auto attack that attacks 4 times with a heal reduction, and a second ability right here that has decreased accuracy and also a poison. So insane skill kit for a rare champion, easily going to be one of the best in the game. Now we're going to move on to the Ogren tribes and talk about another pretty well-known champion, and that's going to be Bellower. However, Bellower is really known for being a campaign farmer, but even if you take him out of being a campaign farmer in the equation, he is still an extremely strong champion. He's got 3 skills that all are area of effect, which is very rare to find, let alone on a rare champion, but they also all come with some sort of support debuff type utility on them. So you can see block cooldowns on the first one, you have decreased speed on the second one, and you have decreased attack and decreased defense on the third one right there. So that is absolutely crazy to have on a rare champion that also does all area of effect attacks. Sure, they're not the strong version, but that's fine, because if they were, this guy would easily be overpowered. The weak version, with everything else that he has, the amount of stuff that this champion has to offer, even outside of being a campaign farmer, is quite high. So definitely going to be one of the best rares and stacks among the power levels of many epics. Next up, we are going to go to the Lizard Men, and we are going to talk about Bogwalker. Now, I always mix up these icons here, so I'm glad I got it on the first try. Now, Bogwalker has a couple of very strong skills right here. His first ability has the strong version of decreased attack. So any rare champions that have a strong buff or debuff type application on their first ability, like we have right here, already is going to make them very strong. But he also has some other stuff, including a increased defense on all allies. Sure, it's only the weak version, but then when you also have his third ability right here, which places a reflect damage buff on all allies when he's crit, even though his second ability only has that weak version of increased defense, with the strong version to decrease attack on his auto attack and his third ability, he's just offering a lot to the table, and that's going to be one of the key differentiations between you know, not so great rares and good epics. Is they offer a lot of things and fill a lot of roles in your party, and not just one thing in particular. So next up on the list, we are going to go to the Undead Hordes, and it is going to be Doomscreech. I've talked about this guy a lot recently, and that is because he is amazing. He's definitely now in my top 5 to 10 list of rare champions because he has got some strong skills. He's an HP-based champion, decreased accuracy, strong version of it on the auto attack. He also has a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns, and he has this shield ability right here. So he fills multiple roles. He's got a very strong auto attack, and he's an HP based champion. Easily stacks up to the power level of many epics in raids. So this guy's going to be on the list. Next up, we are going to go to the High Elves, and we are going to talk about Hein, or Elhain, depending on how you pronounce it. Now, another starter rare, so if you guys ended up picking her, absolutely going to be worth taking to 60 and 6-starring. She is very strong, and she's actually going to be one of the champions on the list that doesn't actually provide a whole lot of support buffs or debuffs. She's really mostly going to be damage, but the reason why I included her is because, first of all, she is a starter rare, so you can end up taking her without having to rely on the RNG of rolling shards, and second of all, she has 2 area of effect abilities, one with the 4-turn cooldown and one with a 3-turn cooldown, and this one actually attacks all enemies twice. That in combination of placing 2 hits if she actually scores a critical and offering a little additional critical rate buff on her second ability, even though she doesn't really offer a lot of debuff utility type support, she compensates for that in the area of effect damage and just numbers that she's going to do. So very strong for a starter rare. Next up, we are going to go to the Demon Spawn. And let's see here. Demon Spawn is going to be right here. We're going to talk about a rare that I haven't talked about in a while, but he is very strong, and that is going to be Fellhounds. This guy right here. Another very strong campaign farmer if you do build him up. He does have an area of effect auto attack right here, which also has the weaker version of decreased speed. But another reason why he is very strong is because of his second ability right here. You've got that continuous heal, but he also has an area of effect reflect damage for your full team that you can actually bring down to a 2-turn cooldown. So this guy is amazing for Fire Knights. Even though he's a rare, he's actually going to be one of the best champions that you can bring up to 64 Fire Knights because of this skill right there. So that, in addition to being a strong campaign farmer, easily going to be on the list. Next up, we're going to go to the Lizardmen and talk about Haru specs. Now, it's this guy right here. Now, this guy is similar to Apothecary in the sense that he has that second ability here, fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, places a 15% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. A little bit different than the one that Apothecary has, but it's still similar. You've got that turn meter fill as well as the increased speed buff, but he also has a poison on his auto attack. So whereas Apothecary is a lot more utility, support, defense based, this guy is going to be more offense and damage based because of that poison, but he still fills that role of a turn meter fill and increased speed. He also has this revive, but those first two abilities are really going to be the thing that makes him shine right there. Next up, we're going to go to the High Elves, and it is going to be Iris, or Harris. I know a couple of people tell me I was not great at pronouncing her name. I apologize again, not my strong point, but she is a very strong champion. So you have her first ability, auto attack, and the thing that makes this ability shine is the grants an extra turn if the target is killed. So if you actually build it properly and you're one-shotting things, you can chain this ability to just keep attacking stuff. So it's kind of like a Relic Keeper's ability, but on a rare champion instead. And she's also got some other great abilities. Removes a random debuff from all allies, has a 60% chance of placing a speed on all allies, the strong version of it, and you can actually boost that up to 100%. And she has this counterattack when the attacker is attacked. So very strong skill kit. Honestly, all 3 of her abilities are very good, and she even offers, in addition to her crazy damage and ability to chain that skill, she also offers that strong version of increased speed for your full team. So very good rare. She is farmable as well from the 6th campaign stage. If you guys don't have her, you don't have to rely on the RNG of shards in order to get her. Alright, we are going to Dark Elves. Of course, we have to put in Kael in this list because I talk about him in pretty much all my videos whenever I talk about rares. As my example, he's just a very solid overall rare, not just for one thing in particular. He's good for the campaign. He's also good for the clan boss. He's decent at dungeons. He's just very strong. So he's got that poison on his auto attack. He has an AoE right here that also fills the turn meter for each enemy killed, and he's got another poison on his third skill right here. So if you build this guy up properly, he could definitely dish out some serious damage, and easily going to be one of the best rares, and in my opinion, the best starter rare. But some people think that, you know, there's other choices. They're all really good, but if you guys picked Kael, absolutely going to be worth taking to level 60. Next, we're going to the Barbarians. We're going to talk about Marked. I know that this is a champion you might not have expected, but she has got some very, very strong skills. She has that decreased defense on her auto attack. Yes, it's only the weak version, but when you guys see her other skills, it will make sense why it's only the weak version. It's still better than nothing. She has a decreased accuracy debuff on her second ability, which is an AoE, and her third ability right here, place a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn, and a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns, which you can lower down to a 3-turn cooldown. So you've got that strong increased defense, block debuffs, decreased accuracy, and decreased defense. You've got a lot going on, a lot of roles that she is able to fill in a team for a rare champion. Going back to that theme of a lot of really good rares, not only are they going to do a decent amount of damage, but they're going to fill a lot of those rares, buffs, debuffs that you're going to need, especially when it comes to higher end content. Next up, we're going to go to the High Elves, and we are going to mention, of course, another champion that I talked about, newer addition to the game, but not super new, and that is Reliquary Tender. Now, Reliquary Tender really has just one skill in particular that makes her super good. That's her second ability. Removes all debuffs from all allies, then places a 15% continuous heal buff on them for 2 turns. With a 3-turn cooldown, this ability is insane, especially to find it on a rare champion. She does have that decreased attack debuff on her auto attack as well, which is something else, but this ability alone makes her super, super strong. So absolutely going to be a champion worth putting on the list. We're going to the Dwarves now. I don't think I've been to the Dwarves yet in this video, and next up on the list is going to be Runic Warder, who is an HP-based champion. Now, his first skill is really not that great, but you guys will see why he is on the list when we get into his second and his third ability. He's got the strong version of decreased attack on his second ability right here. So we've got a strong debuff, and his third ability has a reflect damage and a continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns with a 3-turn cooldown. So you've got a lot of different check boxes that this guy can fill in your group, especially for a dungeon like Fire Knight's Castle. So absolutely going to be a rare better than a lot of epics. And the last champion on the list, we're going to go to the Dark Elves and talk about one of the best rare support utility champions, which again is also a farmable champion, and that is Spirit Host. Now, again, her first ability is not the reason why she is super great. She's not going to be built for damage. It's her second ability, which is the strong version of the increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns with a 3-turn cooldown. And then you have her third ability, removes all debuffs from all allies, places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn with a 5-turn cooldown. And she also has a speed aura in all battles by 10%. Sure, it's not the strong version, but it's still better than nothing. And with the addition of having that strong version of increased attack and also this utility skill right here, she is very, very good for a rare. Absolutely going to be worth taking to 60 and using in your team, especially if you don't have another champion that can fill a lot of these roles. So very good, definitely better than a lot of epics. And that is all 15 champions. So like I said at the start of the video, there are plenty of rares on the that I didn't talk about that are not on this list that are also very good, but I wanted to stick to 15 for the video today. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Really do appreciate all the support, everyone. Thank you so much. If you want to help out, tossing a quick like means more than you can imagine. And definitely keep an eye out for similar videos to this in the future. So have a fantastic day, everyone. Take care. And until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.